My name is Emma. I work as a civil servant at a local city. I got married to Liam 8 years ago. We both work as civil servants and have to live separately due to job transfers. Because of this situation, we don't have any children. Every night at 9 p.m., I receive a short message from my husband. "Oh, I'm in trouble. I have a meeting tonight. Angry. I'm sorry to hear that. It must be tough. So, when will you be back?" "I don't know. It's undecided." That's all I wanted to say. This is the only conversation we have between my husband and me, if we can even call it that. We've been married for 8 years, but we have never lived together. Some people might think we're a fake couple. However, it is quite common in the industry we work in. That's because we are special national civil servants, commonly known as self-defense officers. As self-defense officers, we are transferred to different military bases nationwide every 2 to 3 years. Every time we move, our house changes. 2 years ago, we had a conversation on short message. "Hey, I'm thinking of buying a condominium in Los Angeles." "That's great. If I get transferred to Los Angeles, let me use it." "We're a married couple, of course you can." "A married couple?" "Hey, what's with that weird vibe? We're a married couple, aren't we?" "Well, I was just thinking if we're really a married couple." "What are you talking about?" I'm still at work. I'm working late tonight. I'll talk to you tomorrow." It's the usual short exchange of messages with my husband. 2 years ago, I bought a condominium in Los Angeles, where my parents live. I have always wanted to live in Los Angeles after retirement. It goes without saying that if my husband gets transferred to Los Angeles, we plan to live together. One day, I received an unusual phone call from my husband instead of a message. "Is anything wrong? It's unusual for you to call." "I have a favor to ask. My parents are planning a trip to San Francisco, including a visit to Los Angeles. I was wondering if it's okay for them to stay at your place. Would that be alright?" "Of course, that's fine. It's been a while since I last saw your parents." "I really appreciate it. Thanks. Well, then I'll let them know." Even though it was a long time since we last talked on the phone, he abruptly ended the conversation after getting what he wanted. When was the last time I met my parents-in-law? Maybe it was at our wedding? That's probably it. I'm in Los Angeles, and my husband keeps transferring across the country. We can't even travel together as a married couple. I've never had the opportunity to visit Portland, his hometown. Since it's a rare chance to meet my parents-in-law, I decided to show them around my hometown of Los Angeles. Long time no see, Emma. How have you been? I've been doing well, thank you. I'm sorry to hear that you two couldn't live together since Liam has been on a long-term assignment. Not at all. Since we've been living separately from the beginning, we're like heir to each other. As I was saying this, I realized that we were like heir to each other. Since you come all the way to Los Angeles, let me show you around the city. I took my parents-in-law and headed towards Hollywood by car. Hollywood is much more impressive than Portland. My father-in-law was comparing Hollywood, where they live, to Portland with great interest. After the earthquake 6 years ago, some parts of the building collapsed, and what couldn't be repaired will be demolished. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, well, then let's go to Santa Monica next. I spent the whole day showing my parents-in-law around Los Angeles tourist spots. My mother-in-law had fallen in love with Los Angeles and suggested that she might stay here. You showed me the wonderful aspects of Los Angeles and I really like it. Can I stay here for a while? That's no problem. I'm not home during the day due to work, so I'll give you a spare key. I handed my mother-in-law a spare key. I thought they would stay for a maximum of 4 or 5 days. However, a week passed, and my parents-in-law showed no signs of leaving. I brought myself together and I made a proposal to my parents-in-law. If you really like it here, I can rent out this apartment for $600 per month. During that time, I'll stay at my parents' place in the city. Hearing my suggestion, my father-in-law suddenly became furious. What the hell? Charging rent to family members? You should let them stay for free. Calm down, dear. Somehow, my mother-in-law managed to intercede and put things right. But it was not a situation I was comfortable with. In that case, I would appreciate it if you could cover the cost of electricity, water, and gas that you use instead of staying for free. 2 weeks passed, and one day at work, my phone suddenly started ringing. I wonder what it is calling at this time. Hello? This is Ava, the manager of portrayals. We just received a call from the person living below your apartment saying that there's a stain on their ceiling and they suspect it's due to a water leak from your unit. Anyway, could you come over as soon as possible? We can't enter your unit without your permission. Even if they asked me to come urgently, I couldn't just leave my work behind. I decided to go back to the apartment during my lunch break once I finished my tasks. When I entered the room with the manager, "Oh, Emma, what's the matter? Is everything okay with your work?" "Mother-in-law, I received a call from the person downstairs saying that there might be a water leak from our apartment." "A water leak? Where?" I couldn't tell if my mother-in-law genuinely didn't notice or if she was pretending not to know. But either way, I pushed her aside and headed to where the washing machine was located. As I suspected, the hose was disconnected and the washing machine was still running, repeatedly draining water God knows how many times. Here it is. This is the cause. Afterward, I went downstairs with the manager to check the unit below. We were guided to a room, and when we looked at the ceiling, there was undoubtedly a stain spreading right above the area where the washing machine is at. I naturally let out a deep sigh. My mother-in-law, who was following behind me, looked at the ceiling stain and hurriedly left the scene. In the end, we had to apologize to the resident of the unit below and even faced a claim from the management company for repair costs. When I explained the situation to my mother-in-law, she became angry instead. "Are you trying to kick us out? We won't move out that easily. We're not leaving, no matter what." The damages went not just once. Once again, I received complaints from other residents through the manager. "This is Ava, the manager of portrayals." What happened?" I asked, thinking, not again. The next complaint was about my father-in-law, who would go out on the balcony every night and practice karaoke loudly. I can't believe it. I desperately held back the desire to lash out. "I won't let you get away with it this time." However, when I visited the apartment again, I couldn't find my in-laws anywhere. On the table, there was a handwritten note. "We're going back to Portland. Thank you for your hospitality." Is this for real? What is this? Is it just this? I couldn't help raising my voice. Surprisingly, they left without paying any of the electricity, water, or gas bills. The only thing they left behind was a massive pile of garbage. At least take the garbage out. Finally, now that my in-laws had left, I was able to come back to my own home. One day, I received a call from my husband, who usually doesn't call me. My parents really love your apartment, so can I give them the apartment you bought as a gift? It's fine, right? If you can't agree with this, I'll divorce you. I could hear my mother-in-law laughing on the other end of the phone. After leaving my apartment, my in-laws took shelter in the government building of their son, my husband. Without directly approaching me, they convinced my husband and demanded that I vacate the apartment. Why? I am now faced with an ultimate choice. Either give up the apartment I bought with hard work for two unreasonable demands, or choose to divorce my husband. There are two options. I pondered, why thinking hard. Okay, I made up my mind. 2 days later, my husband, who usually sends me a message, called me. Hey, what the hell? You're going to pay for this. On the day, my husband urged me to decide between vacating the apartment or divorce. I immediately filed my divorce papers and sent it to him by express delivery. My husband called me filled with anger in response to my unexpected action. Within a week, I was called in by my boss at work. Emma, I need to talk to you. To my surprise, it was an order for a transfer to Washington. My ex-husband, who I believed would never let go of the apartment, abused his position in personnel and schemed this behind my back. Damn it. I will never forgive that man. But what about the apartment? Should I reluctantly rent it to my ex-husband's parents? In times like this, I immediately went to the legal department at work. Since you have already divorced your husband and his parents are completely unrelated to you, I think it is appropriate to rent out the apartment. That's true. I quickly called my ex-husband's parents, who live in Los Angeles, and informed them of my intention to offer it as a rental property during the transfer period. Surprisingly, they accepted it smoothly. It was easier than I thought. I thought they were acting out of harassment towards me, but it seems like they really liked the apartment. Taking this opportunity, I added the previous electricity, water, and gas bills, as well as repair costs, and proposed a monthly rent of $700. They accepted it. While continuing my work in Washington, I continued studying for the internal selection exam. Among the self-defense force officers, only a handful of people can advance to the top. The final and most significant hurdle to reaching the top was the Command and Staff course, a selection exam to enter a course that develops unit commanders. Upon passing this examination and completing about a year of training, one would be assigned to units nationwide as a unit commander. I wanted to become more than just someone important or someone in a position of authority. I wanted to surpass my ex-husband in rank and show him. This thought motivated me, and unexpectedly, I passed this incredibly difficult exam and was allowed to advance to the Command and Staff course in one shot. Watch, Liam. The revenge starts now. Those studying in the Command and Staff course enter the Self-Defense Force Academy, which trains self-defense force officers. The Self-Defense Force Academy is located in New York, and my ex-husband is still stationed in New York. My ex-husband, being in personnel, should have known that I had passed the exam. However, I never contacted him, and he never contacted me. 1 year and 4 months passed. and I became the commander of a unit responsible for training members in Los Angeles, where I used to live. Around the same time, my ex-husband was also transferred to Los Angeles and assigned to the local cooperation headquarters, acting as a liaison between the local people and the self-defense force. As a result of passing the rigorous internal exams, I had been promoted to a higher rank than my ex-husband. Meanwhile, a training session for newly assigned officers in Los Angeles was held. What? Why do you have a higher rank insignia than me? As soon as my ex-husband spotted me, he approached and suddenly raised his voice. The officers around looked at us in surprise. In my mind, I thought, I can't deal with someone as low consciousness as you, and lightly brushed it off. It was a wonderful day with excellent weather, a special Sunday. On this day, it was the annual open day at the military base. A precious opportunity for the local community and self-defense force members to directly interact. From children to adults, everyone expressed joyous voices at the tanks displayed within the base grounds. In the simulated combat training, soldiers descended from helicopters, landing on the helipad using ropes, just like Spider-Man, swiftly reaching the ground and assuming shooting positions with their guns, leaving everyone in awe. Within the base, there were people taking commemorative photos with camouflage soldiers, and a side of people happily acquiring their character merchandise could be seen. As a training and education coordinator, I was in charge of a booth where active duty officers provided the experience of marching in unison to the general public. At that moment, my ex-husband appeared accompanied by a group of parents. The desire for revenge ignited at this very moment towards my ex-husband and former in-laws. Now was the perfect opportunity for the ultimate revenge. I couldn't let this chance slip away. Sir, would you like your parents to join as well? Before I realized it, I took on the role of calling them in and guided my ex-husband and former in-laws to my booth. Even though my ex-husband seemed somewhat displeased, I confidently placed an iron helmet on his head and had him line up with the other participants. Everyone, please pay attention. In the self-defense force, each individual is assigned a number for communication purposes. During combat, we don't have time calling out names one by one. Now, I will assign you a number. When I say number, start, the person on the far right will say 1. The person next to them will say 2, and so on with 3 and 4. I positioned my ex-husband on the far right, which was the number 1 position. The other participants consisted of roughly an equal mix of self-defense force personnel and civilians. Number, start. 1. Number 1, you're slow to respond. When I say number, start, immediately answer with me. Yes. Seeing my ex-husband's serious expression as he stood in line, I couldn't help myself from bursting into laughter. This is fun. Now, let's begin the experience of marching in unison. The instructor explained the steps for marching in unison, and after the participants practiced the movement several times and became somewhat proficient, I took over from him. Now, we will start combat training. Self-defense force members, please pay attention to the direction of your barrels. Since the general participants don't have guns, please pretend to hold one. I gave instructions to the 9 participants. Target, the tree ahead. March! Since the enemy was far away, everyone lowered themselves and began running, taking cover behind the target tree. From there, they were to aim their guns in the direction of the enemy, and a portion of the squad would perform the marching movement to push the front line forward. Number 1, march forward with the sidestepping movement. I ordered my ex-husband, determined to use him thoroughly. What are you doing, number 1? Your movements are too slow. Number 1, march forward. Number 1, understood. While shouting, my ex-husband reluctantly marched forward. Number 1, your posture is too high. You'll get shot. Do you want to die, number 1? In this way, my ex-husband, who is an active duty self-defense force member, ended up crawling on the ground with a rifle. Number 1 arrived. In the scorching heat, my ex-husband said with an exhausted voice, Number 1, your voice is too small. Do it again. Suddenly, the audience burst into laughter. The spectators who didn't know about our relationship seemed to find the sight of a female commander giving orders to a male self-defense force member is quite entertaining. My ex-in-laws looked resentful as they watched their son's behavior. In the self-defense force, which is a hierarchical society, my ex-husband always tried to assert his dominance over me, using his higher rank as a reason, both in work and in private. It is often said that even the relationships between wives are influenced by their husbands' ranks within the self-defense force. My ex-in-laws, too, began to look down on me, who belonged to a lower rank than their son, because their son was treated with importance by those around him. Regardless of his personality, the attitude of others was determined by rank. I had grievances against my ex-in-laws and ex-husband, so I staked my life and took the selection exam, successfully passing it and reversing the power dynamic with my ex-husband. Finally, I had the opportunity to get back at my ex-in-laws and ex-husband without them knowing my intentions, and I felt elated, especially in front of my ex-in-laws, who had always thought highly of their son. Humiliating my ex-husband in public was extremely effective. A few days after the event, my ex-in-laws expressed their desire to vacate the apartment. I used to commute from my parents' house, but now I can finally commute from my own apartment. Ironically, even after that, I often come across my ex-husband in various places. Every time I see his frustrated expression, it has become a secret source of joy for me.